I actually started aromatherapy first. What is the next step? Learn.
Like positive result at the moment, and in some time they just realize, oh, the illness is gone. How good is that? Hi Gergely, thanks for coming for our interview. Do you mind to say a few words about what you're doing in your professional aromatherapy path, and just a few words, and we will continue with the questions.
Okay, so I'm actually a massage therapist. I graduated in Seattle in the US, and also I started my aromatherapy education in the US, in Seattle as well, with Jade Shoots. And I came back to Hungary in 2009, the end of 2009, and then I completed my studies in phytotherapy, because aromatherapy falls under phytotherapy. And then, so I'm doing massage therapy and aromatherapy, and then also acupressure. And I'm the editor-in-chief of APC Magazine, which we started with one of my former students back in 2013. So exactly 10 years ago. So that's my main scope at the moment.
Great. Thank you very much. So this is how did your journey begin in aromatherapy, right? So you started with a massage, like being massage aromatherapist.
Originally, I actually started aromatherapy first in 2007, and then I picked up on another program, which is massage therapy. So this is how I combine the two things. So it's like 14 years ago. Yeah.
What was your inspiration in your aromatherapy path, and maybe you can mention some colleagues who inspired you as well.
What do you mean inspiration? Like someone who inspired me to start, or on once I started after that?
What was your inspiration to start? Not even person, just what has inspired you? Why did you think that aromatherapy is something that you should deep into, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I always had a passion towards spices and cooking. And I was working in advertising, as many of the people who came to aromatherapy in the probably last 20 years. Some people were working in marketing, such as I was. And I think I got disillusioned from that world. And I was looking for new things. And then I had a coach friend. We started working on what should be the next step in my life, and then it came out that I'm creative. I have affiliations with spices and scents and perfume and cooking and aromatic plants in general. And then I was just looking around, and then first, when I went to the US, with my family, then, I started looking for aromatherapy education. And the first one that I found appealing was Jade Shoots School. That time she was still half part-time in Seattle. So this was the start. And then I picked up massage after that.
Very nice.
Jade Shoots, she's a friend and she's my mentor, and then, she was my teacher. And then along the way, there's so many people I met in this, in the field. And, nowadays, let's say that I'm impressed with everybody's work. But, for example, Madeleine Kerkhoff, who's a former nurse, and she's a Dutch aromatherapist. She works a lot with CO2 products. I think she's doing a fascinating work. But I mean, I think that everybody who works in aromatherapy nowadays, and some kind of an authority they publish or they are active, I think everything is an inspirational. But on that note, if I'm looking back, I think one of my biggest inspiration was Valerie Ann Warwood, with her aroma genera, and she has at least like 3 or 4 books back from the end of the 1980s and the early 90s.
Great. Can you name any big difficulties that modern aromatherapists can face? But do you see any challenges or obstacles in aromatherapy practice now?
In Hungary or in general?
In general, I would say.
I think that the most important thing is that if you have a lack of knowledge, so I think the most important thing is to get educated. If you don't have education in aromatherapy, then you are going to face a lot of problems. If you want to do your practice, as the lack of knowledge could actually, you can face problems with you can face some dangers, and safety is a very important aspect. And I think I think you have to have the appropriate knowledge, and then I think you are safer to go.
And choose right school. Yeah, it's crucial to choose right school that gives knowledge about safety, about all dosages, and how you should deal with the aromatherapy and essential oils.
I think that nowadays, as much as I see the internet and I know my colleagues around the world, there's not so many schools to actually choose from, and I'm sure that most of the schools that have the background is some people who have been in the field for 20, 25 or even more years. So I think that they must teach appropriate knowledge about aromatherapy, including safety, applications, even botany, chemistry. Not that chemistry is not, I don't think that you don't have to be an aromatherapist to be an academic in chemistry, but I think it's important that you have the basic knowledge about chemistry, because you know what you are working with, and then the possible effects of essential oils on the body systems.
Yes. Do you think in this case we should rely on the list of certified schools which we have from associations like IFPA or NAHA, or there are even more schools that we can choose from?
So you mean that is it important to choose a school which is accredited with one of the associations? Yes. To be honest, and I'm going to be really honest. I mean, it's an important point, because the associations, they have their own governance about, the requirements of, what a school should have, the curriculum, what they should cover. And they have their standards, and most of the associations, actually, all of them, they set up their rules, even 15, 20, 25, even more years ago. So I think on the one hand, it's an important thing. On the other hand, I think that that's people with appropriate knowledge is not necessarily it's not a must. I don't think that it's something that is very important, but certainly it is a guarantee.
Thank you for sharing this. What are 3 essential oils that you always have in your collection or in your bag or when you travel? So what are these 3 musts for you?
I don't have musts. I don't have musts. I mean, when I travel, I usually take one essential oil with me, and then usually where I go, I try to pick up some essential oil from the place where I am. I mean, if I'm traveling abroad, let's say. I don't bring essential oils as a must. Some people travel with a bag of 25 oils in their baggage. I don't. But if you ask me which would be my favorite oils to take with me, then I would say the 3 oils would be one is vetiver, is an everlasting favorite of mine. I also love patchouli, and I like bay laurel. So Laurus nobilis. That's one of my favorite oils. And of course, I could say that, you can take lavender, because it's a jack of all trades oil. It's good for everything. It's good for cuts. It's good for calming your nervous system. It's good for your digestion. As John Steele was a great aromatherapist and archaeologist and anthropologist in the U.S., he coined the term lavender as the Swiss Army knife. I think he was really, it's a really good simile because lavender, the Swiss Army knife, right? It's like, it has lots of things on it, Do you know that, the Swiss Army? Okay. So you can basically do everything with it. If you need to need to use a screwdriver, you have a little screwdriver on it. If you need different size of knives and so on and so, even it has a toothpick.
Yes. I used to have this too. I know what you mean. It's good for traveling and even, for everyday use, like as lavender though. Great. These three oils, except lavender, sounds so masculine for me. So why do you choose them?
I don't believe that, for example, vetiver or patchouli are masculine. I mean, like I know a lot of women who love vetiver, which is in itself is a perfume, I think. But traditionally, I think people call it masculine oils. I found them really grounding and very deep. Bay is probably because actually, bay is a very useful oil for respiratory problems. So if you have minor colds or coughs and stuff, that it's really good because it has acenyl content as well. You can use it for many different things, including the digestive system. So if you eat too much, for example, in another country, they stuff you with, beef stroganoff and pelmeni in Russia, then you have good, for digestion, it helps you, for example.
Yeah, it's really nice. Are you doing individual consultations? Is this right?
I do individual consultations, yes, and usually people refer me, and they come with all sorts of various things. A lot of people mainly come with skin problems, like infections or bacterial or fungi or herpes or other cases. Sometimes I just had a case when sort of a friend, let's say someone who I know for a long time, her son just passed away in a car accident, and she needed emotional support. So a friend of hers looked for me, and then she wanted to create a special plan for mourning and recovering emotions and stuff. So yes, I do.
Can you share a little bit of how do you approach to individual consultations? How do you start working with the client? How do you find the focus? Just few sentences about this.
As most of the good curriculum in schools includes, I guess, there's an intake form, which is not necessarily because it's something a must, but I make notes. So, in particular, when, for example, someone comes in with warts, I had just so many cases with warts on people's hands or feet. I usually take pictures, so document the whole case, because I think it's a very good, learning curve even for documentation. So if it's a positive outcome, then you can have, a comparison. This is what you had, and this is what you are now. And just the same thing that, like making notes, have the first consultation. I informed them that, let's see about the results. I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed that this will work, because aromatherapy, I think, is just one tool. And there are many things. There's homeopathy. And then for some people, aromatherapy doesn't work. So for some people, essential oils are not useful, or they don't bring the desired effect. But anyway, so when I have the notes, and then I sit down and I start, using research, all my notes, my past cases, and then of course I'm trying to make it as personal as possible. So in case of, like, for example, if it's an emotional issue, then one very important thing is that your client needs to like the oils that we are using. So it's not enough that I think that this is going to be good. So you have to get personal, and you have to ask questions like what scent you don't like, and it's a very good question, because although it's a negative question, you don't like, but immediately you have the answers of what you shouldn't use. So you actually avoid making mistakes, because, in some cases people like, let's take lavender, okay? Everybody says everybody likes lavender, which is not true, because a lot of people don't like lavender. And just because you think that lavender is a sedative oil in case of emotional disturbances, for example, you want to make a calming blend and you want to use lavender, but that person doesn't like the lavender, you are not going to achieve the desired effect, right? So, in case of like warts, for example, I don't think that the most important point is to make it a pleasant smell, because why you use it is you want to eliminate something which is not something that you want to smell for. Right? So did you get the point? So if you have warts on your feet, the most important point is not that it smells nice, but it's effective. So, and then I come up with the product or the treatment. Obviously, they get their dosing. That means, use it once a day, twice a day, for 2 weeks, and then see the results come back. And then this is how we take it.
I understand that. You've mentioned the point that aromatherapy is just part of treatment that should be sometimes done, and sometimes it's not enough. Do you approach any other methods of wellness or well-being when you do your consultations?
Of course, I believe, and I studied and I teach holistic aromatherapy. And holistic aromatherapy doesn't just stop with essential oils, right? Because you have to, reach out to, for example, lifestyles. You can add herbalist remedies like herbal teas, for example. You can actually recommend them to go to thermal baths, go out to so it's just like a little bit like you add more points in the lifestyle as well. And of course, if you have a profession like mine, I'm an acupressurist. I can use essential oils in combination with acupressure, also the massage therapy. So it depends on your profession, what you can add to your practice, aromatherapy practice.
Can you make your favorite success story when aromatherapy has brought the best results for your client? Maybe, I'm sure it's not just one, but the one that is your favorite and you always will remember it.
I think, I worked with many, as I said, a lot of people come with skin problems. And one of my favorite was a wart case. It's someone that I know from an earlier workplace 25 years ago. And they called me and they said, actually the husband called me and the wife, about the wife. And he said, my wife has a wart on her finger. And I said, yeah, just make her call me and then we'll talk about it. And then, so we talked about it and she sent me pictures of the wart, which was on her index finger. It was a pretty big one. And so of course I didn't have any doctor's papers or, she didn't get it diagnosed, but it was a wart. And so I made a blend and I instructed her how to use it. So it was pretty much neat essential oils, but to put Vaseline around the wart so that the essential oils neat on the skin might cause some allergic reactions. So to minimize it, so to localize it on the wart. And she was instructed to use it every day. for a couple of weeks. Now, this was just before Christmas time, so like 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas time. And Christmas passed, and New Year's passed, and in February, and of course I forgot about it because I had so many other things. And she didn't call me. There was no feedback from her. And in the middle of February, the husband calls me, and he says, like, see what happened? I said, like, what happened? Her wart is gone, but let me hand you the phone. And so she said that she used the blend for 1 week. Then came Christmas time when with the family, she was a lot in the kitchen, like cooking, baking for Christmas, preparing. And she used it for pretty much like a week or 10 days. And in the middle of February, just before they called, she said, like, we were having dinner when my husband said, "Hey, where's your wart from your finger? It's gone." And she looked at it and it was gone. And later, like when we talked, she admitted that she had 2 warts on her feet as well, which she didn't talk about when she asked for help. And she looked at her feet and the warts were gone. So this was, for me, pretty much a proof that, the essential oils work systematically. So, using it on your hand, had an effect through our blood system and the whole body system to everywhere in the body. So, and she was really happy and she never had the wart back.
This is a wonderful story, really, how it affects all the body. And I like when people don't see positive result at the moment, and in some time they just realize, the illness is gone. So how good is that?
I think in some cases, and this is what I'm teaching to my students when they have to submit case studies if they want to get their certificate at the end of the course. They are supposed to do a couple of case studies. And I said, and I always urge them, so when you do the protocol of a treatment, and your results are not as the expected ones you would like to see, what is the next step? And then, we figure out the next step is not to give it up and say, "Oh, sorry, I cannot help," but rather go back and then, revisit your treatment plan, revisit your essential oils, your recipes, and come up with another product and, just use another one, because some essential oils may work on one client and may not work on another one, right? So I think negative or non-working cases are just as important because you can learn from them.
Exactly. Gergely, can you share how do you support your own emotional and physical well-being with essential oils?
It's difficult to say because I have probably like 500 different essential oils in my fridge. So essential oils are coming and going every day. Some people come. So I don't know. I usually take some of my oils like vetiver and patchouli with me, but I also make natural perfumes. So, for different moods, and I just use them. I don't know. I use them for getting, if I feel a little moody or, it's dark now, it's winter coming, I always have, essential oils out and just smell them every day. Like, I have a dog and pretty much I should say that my dog is not, she never has a problem with, any health problems, other than sometimes she has diarrhea because we are walking and of course dogs lick everything. So, for myself, I always have some oils around. This is how I support myself with the oils. And physically, that I have so many oils. So if I cut myself with shaving, for example, I can use lavender, or I have hydrosols that I sometimes put in my laminate in the summer, for example. So I could say that I'm lucky because I have so many essential oils. I am rarely ill. Knock it on wood.
This is great. When you have that huge knowledge about so many essential oils. You just pick one that you need at the time, at this very moment, and use it, like either on wound or just to heal your mental situation. Let's say.
I don't know. I don't feel that I have to heal my mental situation. I think I'm pretty healthy in that way. But of course, we all have moments of sometimes sadness, or like gloomy days, or when I'm working a lot on the computer, I always have oils which are invigorating or stimulating. Like bay is one. Bay laurel, and I also use like rosemary and eucalyptuses, which have cineol in it, so it's pretty much like uplifting and opens your memory, or open you mentally. I just got this bottle of rosemary from you a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's pretty nice. It's a Tunisian rosemary which has lots of cineol, so when you feel down and when you feel tired, you just smell I just smell that rosemary, and it really works very nicely.
Thank you. I'm really glad that you like my rosemary. I appreciate you giving me this feedback. What would you advise to those who just start his or her journey in aromatherapy? Just how do they go to, or how do they should improve their practice, their maybe learning?
I think, as I said before, it's education. So learn. Read as many books as you can. There's so many great books, that have been published. And also, if you speak English, obviously, then one of the biggest array of research on essential oils is in English. And go on PubMed, go on Google Scholar, and search whatever you are looking for. You can go to one school and get your education there. But I always say it's very good to go and check out different schools, because people, different teachers, different schools have different approaches. And of course, it depends on which way you want to take. If you want to take what is very popular now to call the clinical aromatherapy way, then you have to dive more into chemistry and factual knowledge, like research. But some people want to focus on the spiritual use or on the mental use. So there's so many people recently who come for my classes, in-person classes, like doctors. I have recently more and more psychologists, coaches. So it really depends on the scope of your work. But the most important thing is study. So as much information as you can get. And in practice I think the most important thing is to think about, very, very important is to pay attention to safety. But I also have a thought that I share with my students at the same time. So if you go to the underground, and many cities have undergrounds, and if you're waiting on a platform for a train, there's a yellow line. What does the yellow line mean?
So don't pass, or mind the gap, or what? Depends on the metro.
No, because you have a yellow line. If you have a red line, it means don't pass. If you have the red line, that means don't cross over. If you have the yellow line, it means please be attentive, mind the gap, or as in London, as they say. So you can step over, because if you don't step over, you will never get on the train, right? So I always say that, you can step over. You can step over the line. You can look into the tunnel. Don't jump into the tunnel. But if you don't cross the yellow line, you are never going to learn. Right? So this is the practical learning. So you have to be careful, and you have to have the appropriate knowledge about essential oils. But if you never step over the yellow line, you are never going to be a better aromatherapist. I think this is my philosophy.
Nice. I like this comparison. So is it yellow line for you? Like sometimes use essential oils in high dosage, or what this?
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do that. Sometimes you use an unusual application. But if you always keep yourself to warnings and cautions, then you are going to be very afraid of using anything, because you always say, I have to be cautious. I have to be behind the yellow line, right? It doesn't mean that you have to do things that are irresponsible, but you have to be bold enough to try new things, right?
Yes, I like this comparison. It's so good. Great. There is one more question left, and I think it's important because our interview will be watching aromatherapists who just started or who are really interested in aromatherapy and essential oils. How do you see the future of aromatherapy and naturopathy? What trends and changes can we wait for? How do you see it?
Well, this is a very, very difficult question, because we don't see into the future, so I don't know the answer to that exact question. But what I see, that there should be some kind of change happening in the next couple of years, because I'm working on a project which you are going to see, which is called the Aromatic Hologram Project, and it's about the documentation of what we call now the vintage aromatherapy. So the generation behind us, those people who paved the road where we are at the moment. And where we are at the moment, I don't really know. What I see is that what the aromatherapy world, the world that I was studying in, the world that I spent the last 14 years in, is changing. I think aromatherapy needs to have a clear focus, and the aromatherapist, and then in general, from all around the world, the main authorities, the big associations, I think they have to have hand in hand in order to actually have aromatherapy be accepted by mainstream healthcare, first of all, and make it a modality that can be more than just national, local practices and associations, but more like some kind of an international cooperation. Because in the last 10 years, definitely, the spread of the MLM companies, with those two big companies, I'm not going to name at the moment, but they really do not focus on aromatherapy. They are focusing on product sales. So, buying essential oils because you want to sell them. And in many cases, they actually claim, they sell false claims. We see the bad examples. So, what the future brings, I think, the near future, and many of my colleagues, but one of them in the US, Pam Conrad, she just published her book on aromatherapy and mental well-being, because especially after COVID, there's so many changes in society, and people change socially. They are more withdrawn. They have less social contact. Everything goes online. So I think essential oils and aromatherapy can very much help in the mental states in the next couple of years. The future, we face many more challenges. For example, by the legislation, the European Union restricts many of the natural products in perfume or in general in favor of the pharmaceutical companies and their products. So I don't know. I just hope the best for our passion for the future. So I'm positive, and I think everybody else should cooperate to work on a great outcome and mutual cooperation with on an international and global level.
Yes, I agree with you about what you say, that we can face in future some problems in legislation, and also we will hope that we will be more connected internationally, and because of knowledge, because of different schools that we have all around the world. And there is one more thing I want to mention. I want to add, when you were saying that for what about means that educational means that people can address to go on PubMed, you said, and I would also encourage them to read your Aromatherapy magazine, because you also have a lot of interesting articles and you have interviews with wonderful people that can also encourage, inspire, and give a lot of information. So I would say also read Aromatherapy magazine to be more in the field, you know, what's going on.
Yeah, you're kind, and I hope that it's actually going to be in Russian soon as well. But I think that the magazine, our magazine, I think it's pretty unique, because there are not so many magazines around the world nowadays, in English at least, that I know of. There used to be more, and they just disappeared, and I think this is something that I see in the trend, is that people, as it seems that people need less knowledge to feed themselves from, like, reading. And I think probably this is something that goes, again, online, in the online world, you know, that everything goes online, and you want to see you want to watch the video, you want to listen to a podcast, and we read less.
Yes, it is problem maybe with the less reading. On the other hand, it is important to get knowledge, not just from videos from YouTube, right? Just to go to the roots, either to articles in the magazine or in articles published on PubMed, same.
Then you could also attend, there are many conferences, actually less and less, but there's, for example, the Botanica series of Rhiannon Lewis is and the international what's it called, the ICANN, the International Clinical Aromatherapy Network. I think that's also a very good forum, because the other thing is this: not only that you read and you watch and but you also listen. So I think it's very important to keep up your professional network, because you can all learn from each other, right?
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. Network is really important in our profession, I think, because we can, when we are connected, we are like multiple, and we can share knowledge, we can share cases, we can see what really huge persons in aromatherapy has developed, or can listen to them. And we're looking forward to the conference that you are organizing in February, and I'm really looking forward to it. How it's called again, and where are the dates?
It's called the Aromatic Hologram Project, and by the time probably that someone listens to this podcast, or whatever you call it, interview, then the website is going to be live. So it's www.aromatichologram.com, and it's going to be live for over 2 years. So you can join it. You know, there's going to be it's a type of summit as it starts. So for 3 days, if you register, you can watch the recordings free for 1 day. Each day, actually, it's a 3-day venue. And then if you buy the VIP ticket, then you are going to be able to see the recordings for 2 years afterwards. And then also you're going to get lots of goodies, extra bonus videos, and we're going to have a raffle, and we have many authors of books of these vintage aromatherapists who offered their publication, and the raffle winner is going to get it signed personally by the author and sent out in the mail, whether it's in Thailand or in Paraguay or in Serbia.
Nice, very nice. We'll put on all the links down under the video, so people can click. Okay, I think you have answered on all my questions that I have for you today. Thank you very much, Gergely, for your time, for this interview, and I hope a lot of people will see it. And I think it's important to share and what other aromatherapists think, how do they approach, like sharing. Sharing is important. I believe in sharing and networking, and I think that's true. That's right.
Okay, bye.